Leave the World Behind is a 2023 dystopian thriller drama directed by the incredibly talented Sam Esmail. The movie's based on Rumaan Alam's novel of the same name. Esmail, if you don't know, is the genius behind Mr. Robot. That show was fantastic until it wasn't. The movie flew under the radar for many, but became one of my top 5 favorite movies of the year when I stumbled across it on Netflix. It has an incredible cast: Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, and Kevin Bacon. The entire film is tense, keeping you on the edge of your seat and guessing what's going to happen next. It tells a compelling story while exploring important themes like trust, survival, and the collapse of our society. Amanda, played by Roberts, and Clay, played by Hawke, are a well-off married couple from New York City who decide to take their 2 children, Rose, played by Farrah McKenzie, and Archie, played by Charlie Evans, away from the hustle and bustle for a weekend. They rent out a gorgeous isolated property far out on Long Island. What they think will be a relaxing, quiet weekend unravels quickly as the world around them falls apart. The very first night of their much-needed vacation, there's a knock at the door. GH, played by Ali, and his daughter Ruth, played by Mahershala Ali, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. I've tried this 100 times. GH claims to own the house and is hoping that the renters will let him and his daughter take refuge from the strangeness going on. He seems very sincere, but anyone would and should be skeptical of strangers knocking on their door in the middle of the night, especially in an unfamiliar place. The newcomers report a blackout, which the Sanfords see no evidence of. Well, not directly. As you watch the movie, there are a lot of things that happen that kind of get brushed aside until they're important later on. It's really expert storytelling, but we'll get to that. Eventually, the blackout catches up to them. No electricity, phones, or internet. There's no storm or any other clear reason for the power to go out, and the cell phones should operate independently anyway. At first, the vacationing family feels it's not too much more than a minor inconvenience. It's hard covering a movie like this since there's so much tension in every single scene and so much going on. I want to let you know what it's about without giving the whole thing away. As time passes, the 2 families find a way to get along, or at least coexist. But the outside world keeps pushing in on their mental states. Fear starts to creep into everyone's minds. Things get increasingly tense. As more weirdness unfolds, Clay decides to venture away from their sanctuary to gather more information. The world seems all but abandoned. The streets are empty. Cars are empty. None of the activity you expect for New York, even remotely out on Long Island, is around them at all. Of course, when Clay returns home with only more ominous things to report, no one feels any better about the situation. The fear turns to true psychological strain. This, compounded with the isolation they're all experiencing, is pushing everyone to their breaking points. Ruth, the youngest, seems to be handling it the best. GH is kind of in the middle. He's doing what he can to keep everyone in a sane place. Amanda handles things, I'd say, the worst. She is doing her best to defend her children, but she's lashing out at all the wrong things. She can't lash out at the unknown. I have to be extra careful here. This is not a movie you want to be spoiled. Going in blind was a great viewing experience. The narrative unfolds with increasingly strange occurrences. The blackout is the least of the oddities in the movie. Even with all the craziness happening in the world around them, Leave the World Behind remains very much a character piece. You will relate to a specific character, and that relation may change from scene to scene or event to event. You're going to see yourself in how they handle the situation and how you think you would. It doesn't take long for people to reevaluate who they are in a crisis. When numerous crises are thrown at the characters in this movie, their priorities, identity, purpose, and role in their wider society change rapidly. The movie asks tough questions about the human response to crisis, fear, and uncertainty. Watching it highlights the fragility of the comfortable systems we all live in, enjoy, and rely on. Many movies in the sci-fi genre show how close we are from control to chaos. It's a very fine line, and this movie does it slowly and masterfully. I don't want to get into the ending specifically, but I will say after sitting down to watch this in my basement screening room, completely alone with the lights down, I had a weird sense of ambiguous dread. I wanted to go outside. I wanted to be near people and see the world, see that it was normal. This movie really sat with me. Director Esmail perfectly uses his characters to explore different themes. The Sanford family represents privilege, survival, and a human being's remarkable ability to deny uncomfortable truths, no matter how strongly those truths are bearing down on them. The Scott family represents resilience and adaptability. They seem stronger in regards to facing this bizarre unknown situation. Despite their differences, when push comes to shove, there is some level of working together, some understanding amongst even the most crossed characters. This gives me a bit of optimism for the human race. Along with an incredible story, the cinematography and score work hand in hand to heighten the whole experience. Just as effective as the score is the lack of score. The silence and deliberate pacing of the movie add so much to the constant state of angst. Setting the movie in a remote environment changes every scenario. It also removes the movie from a location as iconic as New York City, making the story more timeless as well as relatable. As with every movie, reviews were mixed upon its release. Reviewers praised the atmosphere, tension, performances, and complex themes. On the other hand, the ambiguity in the narrative and slow pacing were criticized. To criticize those elements while praising things like atmosphere and tension seems completely tone-deaf. You don't get the former to work so well without the latter. Some sects of the audience cried out that not having the entire thing spelled out for them in crayon ruined the impact of the movie and was unsatisfying. Those people are clearly idiots, as over-explaining any thriller is a sure way to ruin the atmosphere, and over-the-top explanations like this lead to clunky exposition most of the time, which would weaken the performances. Normally, diving into these retrospectives, I like to do a by-the-numbers section. Because Leave the World Behind was a Netflix original released directly to the platform, we can't talk about opening weekend or box office numbers. Technically, there was a small window where the movie was released in theaters. This type of thing happens to meet qualifications for award season. But none of the financials were ever made public. We also can't take the long history or physical media re-releases, as there isn't one and there aren't any. Netflix gets its profits from subscribers and relatively low, though ever-increasing, monthly payments. Netflix did say that the second 2 quarters of 2023 saw Leave the World Behind as the most watched movie with 121 million views. Those numbers were enough to boost the movie to be the platform's 5th most popular movie of all time. The Twilight Zone's original run has been for nearly 3 decades and likely always will be one of my favorite series of all time. Leave the World Behind fits that mold perfectly. It's of our time. We all have anxiety about technology, societal structures collapsing, and the fragility of our lives. Most people aren't as connected to nature and intuition as we once were. There's not a weak link among the cast. Even side characters with limited screen time were given accolades for their roles in making the movie work so well. Esmail also received a lot of praise for creating the eerie, unsettling atmosphere. He was specifically complimented for his use of framing, isolation, and sound design. Check out this video next for more of my movie coverage for So Wizard Podcast.